Good morning and welcome to this live webinar, Master the Art of Presenting with Microsoft, how to present in the digital age. What is this webinar about? It is about how you can engage your audiences when you're presenting both internally and externally and using digital technology. And today, I'm proud that we have our partner company, Microsoft, here with us. And with me here in the studio, I have Malati Eskola, who is the marketing lead at Microsoft Finland, and Harri Mikkanen, office marketing manager at Microsoft Finland. And later on, we will be joined by John Zimmer, the 7-time public speaking champion in Europe, and we will have a quick Q&A and discussion with him as well about the digitalization of presentations. Just before we go to our agenda, I'll just quickly tell you about what is this Master the Art of Presenting about. It is a public speaking and presentation skills event that will be held in Helsinki on the 20th and 21st of October. And there you have the opportunity to learn from the best in their industry, in their trade, great speakers, and also we have great partners like Microsoft here. And you can learn how to prepare, how to visualize and use technology, and how to deliver great presentations. And this actually, here we have the agenda of the 2 days. So on Thursday we will have a networking event on the night of Thursday, and then on the Friday, the 21st of October, we will have the actual Master the Art of Presenting event with 3 great keynotes and in total 9 workshops on the art of great presentations. Now, today in this webinar, we will first discuss the big change that has happened, the digitalization in the presentation scenario. And to first present a few thoughts about that, I'll let Mala take over from here. So Mala.
Thank you, Timo. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here, to be talking to you about the development in presentation overall in the digital age. So let's get started. A few years ago, and not too far away actually, we all remember the time when we wanted to attend an event or we want to be in a meeting, we are forced to be in that location at that particular time. We didn't have the freedom to call in or to follow up with the presentation later on. And another format that I guess we were restricted to is the use of projectors. Every meeting room would have projectors, and it's monotonous. So you're looking at a lack of interactivity. You're experiencing a somewhat monotonous experience, and a lot is put on the speaker itself to really engage the audience, because he or she does not have the flexibility to use technology to spice up his presentation. So, and another trend back in the days that we were exposed to is the fact that it was one way. Yes, you can ask questions in the middle of the presentation, but it was somewhat limited. It was well scripted, and you're supposed to be coming in there, presenting your presentation, and then maybe addressing a few questions in the end. So there's no room for you to necessarily move around or be flexible with your presentation. So what's happening today? Today, we all enjoy the fact that we have Skype for Business. We can call in and be place and time independent. We can engage with our peers or other participants wherever we want, whenever we want. And that level of interactivity and collaboration is something that's given us a lot more flexibility. So as a presenter, you need to make sure that if you're opening up the platform for others to participate more actively instead of just consuming content, you want to make sure that you have a pair of helping hands, because that's not going to work, that you're presenting, you're talking through your material, and then at the same time having another, same time focusing on what the audience is saying. And the fact is, you'll have both virtual and physical audience in front of you. And as a speaker, you do want to make sure you're giving utmost attention to both. So it's not just the physical audience that you're seeing and experiencing in front of you, but you also need to be mindful of those who are on the line and bring them onto your presentation when you need to. Mm-hmm. So that level of interactivity and collaboration is a benefit that you can, is an opportunity that you can really take advantage of, but it does call for proper preparation and having that support that can make it truly engaging. At best, when done right, this is going to be a dialogue. Mm-hmm. So that one directional communication that you used to have is history. So you're looking at having a proper engagement with your audience. At the same time, you're tailoring that, and you can feel good about the fact that, hey, I actually made that audience understand the message that I'm delivering. Mm-hmm. So the flexibility also goes as far as, your audience can jump in and jump out from the presentation, can rewind and start watching something because you have recorded your presentation. Mm-hmm. You allow them to take the control. And this means you need to make sure your presentation is structured in a proper way, that when they jump in, they can rewind back to a place. There's a proper frame that tells them what's going on. So this also means you need to be planning for not just the physical audience, but also how to make sure those who are going to go back and rewind and watch and jump in can be also taken through that journey. Mm-hmm.
But just a quick note here. As you said, today digital presentations can be interactive and collaborative, and what I just want to add here, outside this studio, we have Uchenna, who has been also taking part in preparing this webinar, and she's monitoring the Twitter feed of this webinar. And yes, if you want to ask questions or send some comments, then please use the hashtag #MasterTheArt, which you can see at the upper right corner of the presentation slides. So we'll pick up some questions during the webinar.
Yeah. And just to build upon what I just said, being placed in time independent, having that flexibility to be more interactive, both from the presenter's viewpoint as well as from the audience viewpoint, and giving that flexibility to the audience to consume your presentation and content when and wherever they want, is all wrapped around the fact that I can optimize my presentation, because today I can get insights on what has worked with my audience, what did not work, when were they watching the webinar, what was the high time when I had the biggest volume of audience, and so forth. So all this information is growing in terms of intelligence, that in the future as a presenter, I think we will be super informed and super prepared, in the sense that we will be needing to have a skill to jump into situations where you're looking at data, you're looking at how your audience is interacting, you need to be able to improvise. Mm-hmm. So having that structure is important, but also having that flexibility from a presenter's perspective to be able to embrace the reactions and taking that into account while you're presenting. Tomorrow, we at Microsoft have big faith on augmented reality. So while today we can have people calling in from different time zones, different locations, different offices, tomorrow we're saying, yes, you can do all that, but you can also have a holographic presence of Hari, who is probably traveling in China and working with me on a single project. So I can have Hari here in a holographic format, and we will be co-creating something together.
Are you sure Hari is not in holographic format now?
I'll leave that for the audience to
I wonder which language we will use, because we could use any language and translate it almost live.
That's it, yeah, and that's a feature that's already available today, supporting a few languages, not all of the languages in the globe, but for example, if I'm presenting today in English and I want to address an audience in Spain, that capability already exists today. So to wrap up, there's a lot has happened within few years, But I think there's a lot more skills in terms of taking into account that you're both physical and virtual, and the fact that once you've done all these, the content can continue to live. And that means you need to also be aware that when you put that recorded content out there, you need to make sure that do you want to open it up for further conversation or do you want to close it? And if you do open it, you do want to make sure that you also moderate it and go in and participate post-event.
So as a summary of this, as we can see on the presentation slide, there are like digitalization fragments, well, not that little, actually quite much, the field that we are presenting is, so we need to take more things into consideration, and we also need to expand like the view to the life cycle of the presentation. Would you say that is the effect?
Yeah, I think the fact that you can scale your presentation, you know, back in the days, we might be addressing the crowd physically, and then the content is there and it disappears. The beauty about today's world is that you can record it and you can share it further on. So whether you're doing a research paper or something, the source of material that's available out there for those who are researching content or just wanting to learn and up their skill on presentation, they can go back to our content and take advantage of it. I think that's the beauty, definitely. It's fragmented, but at the same time, it's open. That you can co-create, and that content is you plant the seed, and the fact that you're opening the platform for others to join in and build that conversation or build that content together with you means that fragmentation disappears. You focus still on the content, but the technology enables us to work with the content in a more flexible way.
Yeah, like have more channels of content to your presentation. Actually, I'll pick a bit on the augmented reality. I guess that is quite interesting for many people who are watching this. What can you say now? What is Microsoft working on currently, or that you can tell about the augmented reality?
We are working, so on the presentation, it's more about collaboration, transforming and innovating with products. We have a great Volvo case that people can check out. It's on the YouTube, where the team at Volvo has been using HoloLens glasses to co-create a product, and to the point where they're thinking of taking it out to consumers who are buying their future car to actually envision how the car looks like and customize it and then see it in virtual or augmented reality way. So there's a lot of that kind of experiments happening. It's not exactly mainstream yet, but we're barely, we're at our infancy level stages there. So there's a lot more great stuff coming up, and we're looking at the audience out there to really take it to the application level, if you will.
And what I see is that it's not just individual thing, but it's very natural to work together with people from different places and so on. But of course, there's some kind of limit that how many people you want to take there at once. What is working, but it's very natural to do co-create something together or collaborate on something. It's very natural scenario for that.
We also took in some of our audience's own success stories as digital presenter before or upon the enrollment to this webinar, and just as a wrap-up of Mala's section, there were many people, Antti-Pekka, Jacqueline and Alexei, who all told that they actually don't have a history of presenting in the digital format yet, but they're really looking forward to what the presentation of this webinar is about, and also looking forward to learn new things. And I guess that this is becoming more and more like relevant and important for many of us who work in the current world of business, I guess.
Absolutely. I think that's something that I don't think we can shy away. It's just one way, and that's to embrace it. The audience today expects the flexibility. I mean, we have meetings in our office within our team that there's not a single meeting invite that goes out without a Skype for business invite. It's just given. And in fact, we don't even have physical location. Skype for Business is the default. And then if that's missing and there's only a location, what's going on? So I think the bottom line is the principles of giving presentation doesn't go away. The fact that you need to have a good intro, a proper agenda, first of all, a good intro, a strong body, and a strong conclusion is not going to go away. So you always want to have the action points covered at the end of your presentation and so forth. What these enables you, as Haba was saying, is the collaboration aspect, the co-creation aspect, that you can really participate as an audience. It's no longer sitting there passively consuming the content. The fact that you can chat with your peers who's in Singapore while Haba is presenting here about Skype broadcast, for instance. Sharing our experiences, learning while talking to one another and not necessarily just to the presenter. So it's not just upwards, it's also horizontal with your peers that are on the line. I hope this kind of engagement will be embraced more and more, and that openness to have that platform open for others to share their thoughts while the presenter is talking is a valuable way of learning and understanding a topic.
And I think that's the only way to scale, because if I think my typical week, if I set up any physical event starting here 9 a.m., I get lots of critics outside Helsinki area, even from Tampere, 150 kilometers away, that you should come here and so on. So that's the only way to scale. And if you think about scaling globally, there is no other way, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, we wish those fellows and guys and gals that you mentioned will bravely venture into digital presentation.
So Antti-Pekka, Jacqueline, and Alexei, first of all, if you want to learn more deeply, then you should come to the event in October, where we will have a workshop, a full workshop on digitalization of presentations. There was also one real success story on using Skype for Business, joining a meeting. There was Mikko who told that he had been late for a meeting, but he had joined this meeting via Skype for Business using his cell phone and a Bluetooth headset. So he had taken the meeting actually from a bus and continued it as he took off from the bus. So there's a real success story on how you can save a presentation at a meeting by using modern technology.
It's highly liberating to have that flexibility.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, shall we move on to our next section? Harri will present a few of the about what is currently what you should take into account, and then we'll also look at one concrete scenario which some of you watching this may face, like in coming 1 year already.
Yeah, like Timo mentioned, it will be a little bit more fragmented. There are lots of different technologies, and you don't always realize what you use when. But what I try to create first is kind of a short list of what I see, what is happening in quite near future, what are the trends there. Then I have one practical example about very large global meetings. And then at the end, we will go through a little bit of checklist that what you should think, what you should do next. So if we start about these near future scenarios for digital presenters, what I'm thinking there is automation. Automation means lots of things. What I'd like to have right now is like a virtual assistant taking care of my calendar and setting up almost everything for me. And I see those things happening, for example, scheduling people meetings or events. We already have kind of digital assistants who can help you there to find a time, because it's real waste of time if we start sending emails from Monday, and on Thursday we see that, okay, we never found joint time to have 30-minute meeting or 1 hour meeting or doing some presentation together. Another thing which is happening right now is setting up a material, because I'm a little bit sad that if we go to virtual, we typically miss too many minutes from the beginning. Audio is not working, people are not seeing presentation, because we can automate all this. One small thing which is coming up is that if you attach any presentation material to your virtual meeting, it's already there when you join it. Sounds like a very small niche thing, but I think that it will save lots of time in many organizations in the near future. And also recording and distribution will be automated. I come back to that all the events will be recorded, but you don't have to worry about that. And that may come back to what Mala mentioned about preparation, that you must prepare your presentation so that you have to think that, okay, somebody else will use this, or some part of this presentation later on. Life cycle expands. Then interaction and engagement. If you want to engage audience, it's always important to prepare for that, and there you typically need a couple of more people helping you, so that if you start some presentation, you want to engage the audience, but then you forget about the audience, and especially digital audience, then you're totally lost, because then it doesn't feel interactive, and you participants don't feel engaged about that.
At this point, I want to remind the people that if you have questions, do send them via Twitter with the hashtag #MasterTheArt, and Uchenna will pick them to our studio here. Yeah.
So interaction with audience, getting them more engaged, and in some occasions even having kind of a digital workshop, so that you're co-creating something new together, not just putting up notes, but creating material together. Lots of new stuff coming up there. Then I mentioned that even if the video has been there for quite a while, people are a little bit shy of working that. I see that people have putting some kind of a tape over their camera, and I don't understand that, because one small tip if you're presenting to total digital audience is that you should use video, because otherwise you forget other people. I've been in meetings or presentations where there are 10 people in Helsinki and 15 people in Oulu, and we all go to lunch, and when we didn't use video, we forgot everybody in Oulu. They were totally lost at what happened now, where is everybody now?
Yeah.
And I already mentioned also recording, so that more and more of the material will be recorded, any type of presentation, and people can use the whole presentation or parts of it later on. So recording and video will have much bigger role in near future. Then we come to very large web-based meeting. At Microsoft, we talk about broadcast type of meeting. If I want to reach globally, for example, up to 10,000 people, it's a little bit different situation. It is a little bit different preparation. I come back to that, but that's happening now, and we can have much cheaper technology enabling that kind of a broadcast events for corporations, for example.
So in a way, you can do a YouTube gig on the web nowadays, or
or if your company is doing some global announcements or anything like that, 10,000 is better than 200, where we are now used to be in typical web conference.
That's huge.
But those are the four I think that will happen in very near future, or some of them are happening already now. Oh, this is an interesting question. We just kick back and let machines do all the work. So what are we doing here now? So as it gets fragmented, it also needs a little bit more preparation. There are lots of advances that what you get when you go to digital. I told to Mala earlier, this should be talk about hybrid, that you have physical and you have digital, or physical and virtual, whatever you want to do. So machines help a lot, technology helps a lot, it enables a lot, but you still need the preparation. And if I go to this very large meeting example, we talk about broadcast presentations, I realized that even at Microsoft, we have our own internal model for this. I can go very cheap, and just do everything as a self-service. So I set up everything and hope that everything goes well. Or then I can do something what we are probably doing now, that we get a little bit better cameras and lighting and a group of people helping us. Or the third level is what we call white gloves level, where I can outsource also almost everything. I just walk into the meeting on presentation 1 minute before, and then everything is taken care of. And so, however, what you have to take into consideration when you go to this global broadcast type of meeting is that you have to agree on different roles. The audience is clear who is participating there, and you maybe engage them and so on. So that's maybe the easiest part. But then you have presenter or multiple presenters, and you have to figure out if are they in the same physical location or not, or what you have to take into consideration. Then you have what we call here production team. So we have somebody helping you with technology, somebody is organizing things, and if you're using some kind of back channel like Twitter or something, what you're doing all the time, somebody has to take care of it, so that we are here trying to engage people and then forgetting about it. But what I try to say here is that when you go here, you have to compare it to any type of a corporate event, which used to have a huge production team a couple of years ago and TV type of cameras. The technology is now cheaper, it's easier to distribute it globally, but it doesn't take it away that you have to figure out what kind of team you have supporting you if you want to be successful. Because it's easy to set up the event, but to deliver it, it takes a little bit more consideration that, okay, what are these roles? Who are these people helping with you?
By the way, quick question at this point. Is this like for big corporations only, or do you see this type of scenario also going or flowing down towards the smaller type of companies that may be local or even like independent consultants?
I think this is best for small companies. Like anything that's coming from cloud, there's no better time being startup because you can get everything what we and every other technology company used to call enterprise solution because technology is very cheap nowadays. So I would put it that way, that what kind of audience, if you have a need for reaching out thousands of people, hundreds of people, this is something you should think about seriously. I wouldn't limit it to big corporations, no way.
I think today the small and medium-sized businesses have access to technologies and software platforms that were previously only made possible for the bigger ones because of the financial burden that it brings. But today it's plug and play almost in some of these softwares that we offer.
Well, as Harri said, one of the scenarios that you walk into a room and everything is prepared there. So we could see like this type of service is becoming more usual.
Yes.
So just what are the, like, okay, this sounds like a big hassle, but then can you tell what are the benefits? I can actually refer to one of our audience stories here. What is the benefit of using that kind of technology to engage audiences? Samu told us that he has embraced using online meetings to do sales meetings. And he told us that he has like multiplied a lot his like number of his meetings, and his quality meters have not suffered at all. So it means he can get more done during a day with the same level of quality as it did before. So that's one of the success stories here. Another one, I have it here. It was from where is it? Oliver. He's been holding live webinars for a company's field force and receiving enthusiastic positive feedback, even though the colleagues had to get up half an hour earlier to attend the webinar before leaving to their day's tour. But anyway, I guess that this way they can scale the meetings more easily.
Yes, and get the right attendance, because sometimes it's important. You can have a long meeting or presentation, and it's valuable that you have some total expert for 10 minutes, 5 minutes only, and they don't have to travel and everything. There are lots of benefits. So how to get to those benefits?
What are the 1, 2, 3 steps that the
you were asking for
audience looking at this can take today?
And we came up like list of funny ideas, but then we had to pick up 3. And first thing we think is like create a checklist or playbook or whatever you want to call it. So you think about that, okay, what kind of technology will help you in different situations, because it's totally different to have one-to-one meeting, have a presentation, or have broadcast event. There are totally different types of events. So figure out that, okay, what you will use and when, and then train your people and agree about that. So that if I'm saying to Mala that, okay, we will have this type of event next month, she already knows that what we will use, how she has to prepare and so on. And this is something we go through in the event itself, in the workshop. This is something we are, maybe 1/3 of our workshop will be about that. Okay, we say that, okay, these are all the possibilities, this is typically working, you should try it in this way and create this kind of playbook or checklist. But that will help, and it will create common understanding of what to use when. Then scaling your meetings from physical to virtual. Mala came up for many benefits about that already, and I mentioned that you have to secure the right attendance. So that even if somebody will be late for 10 minutes or has to leave early or something, it might be beneficial to have them in some format participating virtually to those events. And then maybe the most important one is preparation. I almost said it when you were asking that this is total hassle. I said it is if you don't prepare, but preparation is still very important. And practice doesn't harm anybody. It's also cheap. You can have meeting with your friends and train broadcast and everything. So it's also very cheap and easy nowadays.
But so as a wrap up, if you want to get your playbook or your checklist of your digital presentation roadmap, then you should come to the event to hear from Harry more. Okay.
Yes, welcome.
Thanks. Yeah. And the last point was about preparation. And you are a Toastmaster, Mala?
Yes, I am.
Member of Toastmaster International. I'm also a former member of Toastmaster International. And I guess one of the things that we learn from Toastmasters is that you should be prepared. Yeah. That's one thing that you can always like have an effect, or you can control, is your preparation. Next, we have a guest. We have him. Let's see if we can get the Skype going first. I'll just quickly introduce John Zimmer. He's also a member of the Toastmasters International. Then he's a 7-time European champion of Toastmasters speaking competitions, and he has also been taking part in the World Championship of Public Speaking. He's also a professional public speaker and a presentation coach. And now we'll hear about his reflections about the digitalization of presentations and public speeches. Just quickly switch. John, thanks for joining us. You are now where?
Just outside of Geneva, Switzerland.
Okay, so here we see how we can get some dynamics and also this kind of participation from abroad today in presentations. So, well, how do you see the presentation landscape and what we discussed just previously?
Comes to virtual presentations, webinars, Skype for Business, whatever. I think that, and again, I know Harry was touching on this about preparation. You want to make sure everything's running smoothly. You want to have a good team in place. I know we all here on this webinar, we all had a meeting virtually yesterday to make sure things were running. We were all online 45 minutes before the start of this webinar today. And it reminded me of an experience I had just a few months ago. I was working for a company that had me giving a presentation for an hour with slides from my home. They were based in Portugal, but the attendees were all over the world. So about 4 days before, we did a practice test, a run through with the Skype for Business, and I had sent them my slides, we uploaded them, and it worked fine. But always in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, what might go wrong? Have a backup plan. And on the day, there was a little problem with the slides on Skype for Business, but I had the slides ready to go on my computer. So we just, in 5 seconds, we shifted to a screen share, and the presentation went fine. So when you've got this added component of the technology, and it's the same if you're presenting live. If you have PowerPoint slides and the beamer breaks, for example, you have to have a backup plan. So that's one thing that I would note. Another very simple tip that I've found helps me, and it's something I'm doing right now, in fact, is whenever I present virtually, I like to stand up, just as if I were in front of a room full of people, because I find I have more energy, and that energy transmits through the computer. Mala was saying something earlier that I think is very important. She says you've got to always be aware of your audience. And for people who are not used to presenting virtually, especially if they just see the slides in front of them on the screen, there can be a tendency to just start relating to your computer, to your laptop, and looking at the slides. But you've got to try and remember that there are people on the other end of the line. So you want to transmit with your voice. You have to make that extra effort to keep the energy up and to connect with them, but you still have to do it.
Then we have one success story from one of our webinar participants, Ian. He told that he has been at the forefront of technology adoption within Toastmasters International, from exploiting the reach of Twitter to the use of video for meetings. He has been instrumental in the acceptance of online clubs within Toastmasters International. So you are also at the forefront of presentations, and Toastmasters has been adopting this as well. How quickly do you see that we are reaching like the time when this kind of thing, webinars, video meetings, these really big like worldwide meetings are like normal day-to-day business?
Honestly, I think we've already reached it. When I was working, I used to work at the United Nations and also at the World Health Organization. And when you've got colleagues in offices all around the world, these virtual meetings were a norm. There are studios at the UN and at the WHO where we would meet in a room, and on the wall you would have 4 or 5 screens, and you would have people. We would have meetings from Geneva, Kuala Lumpur, Copenhagen, Brazzaville, Cairo, and other places around the world as well. And it was a great way of shrinking the distance. You could see colleagues whom you might meet one-to-one, face-to-face a couple times a year, but to be able to sit in front of a screen and actually see them and discuss with them, it's a great thing. And I really do think that the time is now. We are here. Yes, it's early days, but we are definitely in the era of virtual presentations.
Yeah, and just to build on what John just said, we're seeing schools in Finland connecting with one another over Skype and collaborating with different classrooms. We're seeing hospitals piloting.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'll try to speak a bit louder. So I was just saying, John, that here in Finland, we're already seeing schools experimenting with virtual learning, where they have Skype calls set up between schools and classes, where they're collaborating on a single theme like Baltic Sea, or doing this notion of pen paling in a different way through technology. And also hospitals, helping patients, monitoring their health over Skype calls, as opposed to making the patient to physically be at the hospital. So we're seeing presentation taking a different format. It's not exactly presenting, but it's collaboration, customer service, and so forth.
Co-creation. Did you hear the comment?
I think it was Mala who was speaking, but I think she might have been a little bit too far from the microphone. I couldn't pick it up.
Okay, I'll just quickly refer it to you. So summarize. So what Mala is seeing currently is that schools are adopting technology and they are doing meetings and then this kind of a collaboration over Skype and internet, and then also hospitals are adopting technology when they diagnose their patients and these kinds of things. So in the sense, at least the next generation is already taking it in as a day-to-day thing already. De facto, yeah.
Absolutely. It reminds me of a talk. Some listeners might be familiar with a fellow from the US, Seth Godin. And he gave a TED talk where he talks about education and how we can use the digital world to actually rethink the way we educate kids. And his thesis, quite briefly, is that, instead of, you've got 100 kids going to 100 different schools being taught history, for example, by 100 different teachers. His theory is, why not get the very, very best history teacher in the country and have them give the lectures to the kids in the evenings virtually, and then during the day go to school, and instead of getting the lesson, it's at school that they would do the homework and collaborate with other students and ask the teachers in their cities or in their schools the questions that they have. And it's a very interesting idea. When I heard that, it got me thinking again of all the possibilities that the digital world can bring.
Uchenna, we had a few comments or questions from Twitter.
Actually, one very relevant question online. So how do we engage audience online in practice? For example, asking questions from them, asking them to tweet their questions. So maybe you can also repeat this question to make sure that we all hear it online. But how do we engage our audience online is the question.
Okay, so practical advice on how to engage audiences online.
I've got Twitter up on my tablet as well, so I'm looking at that as well. One of the best ways would be to have a scenario much like we're having right now, where people can have open mics and they can speak as well. So you actually hear the conversation, much like we're having right now. Of course, that adds a different, an additional logistical component. You've got to have somebody fielding the questions, again, much like Uchenna's doing right now, having it in a structured way. So that's one way to do it. And I also know, Timo, you have a lot of experience with using technology, for example, for polling the audience to get a sense how many people feel a certain way about a certain subject. And I've seen you use these in presentations, both face-to-face and virtually.
No. And then, yeah, today we have used Twitter here as a feedback channel, and then we also got some of our audience's stories upon enrollment from our enrollment page. So those are a few of the ways that we have used here today. How about, Harry, can you come up with some additional ways of also concrete ways that, for example, Skype broadcast provides us?
What we could have done here, if we wanted, is that we can set up certain questions to the audience in advance and then set it up when we think it's appropriate during the event, when it's relevant. We can set up polls, we can see trends and so on. We can do all that. But what I will think there as a preparation is that if you have a very short event, like maximum 1 hour, how many times you will do that in an hour that it doesn't feel like a hassle, so that it's relevant. And if you gather any feedback, you have time to engage with the audience about that feedback and so on. So I will think about that, how many times you engage them. Is it like every 15 minutes, every 10 minutes or something, so that it doesn't feel that you're just playing with the technology.
Yeah, true. Yes, Uchenna, another question.
So we have another very good question online, and I believe this refers to what Harri was talking about earlier. So how can we check, or if we check a presentation or meeting notes, that can happen in a few minutes. How is that same efficiency achieved in looking at archived video? So essentially, checking a presentation or meeting note can be done in a few minutes. How do you receive that same efficiency when looking at an archived video recording?
One of the simplest ways is to put up subtitles, and I see AI coming up to that very shortly, so that I'm thinking that if I'm broadcasting something, they will add subtitles on any language I'm speaking. We are very near to that, and it's very easy to do manually too. Another one is that if I give out any presentation, I've been saying to my colleagues that in a couple of years when I'm presenting, it also co-creates automatically speaker notes for that.
Speaker notes, and you can even get like these time tags for the video when is each presenter speaking, so that someone who is watching the recording later on, they can maybe just jump the points of one.
Just skip me from this event and they can just take what you said, for example.
Okay.
So that's all possible today. Yes.
That's all possible today already, so it's not that far away. So you can get that kind of efficiency quite quickly already with video as well. Are there other questions? No, currently. Okay, thanks. Just one my comment on once more on the how to engage audiences when you're using video. At one of our customers, I've seen them doing this with Skype for Business, that they have these like big meetings, people from around Finland are joining it, and then they can have these like virtual drawing boards where each one of the participants can put their input, or they can ask questions, or they can draw even there, or write there. And then they even have this, that you can divide your participants into smaller groups, and they can have like these pair discussions during the virtual, and then you can bring all back together and have the discussion together. So I guess you can have the dynamics that you can have in a classroom nowadays already in a video meeting as well.
That's all possible.
That's all possible today, and that's the way to like get the audience input. Okay, guess we're closing to the end already. I just want to pick a couple of the audience comments from which we asked before this webinar. This one is from Jukka. He tells that even though we are in different places, like minor details, your own like presence at the meeting is always the key. So these little things and managing the expectations is key. Leena has also added that it's the as well, like being present, having this interaction, and engaging the interest of your audience is the key in virtual presentations as well. So how do you comment that? What do you give as a recommendation, John? First of all, what can you take from the old world, from the old world of public speaking? What is something that is still relevant, and then what should people embrace from the new world, from the digital world?
What would I take from the old world? Well, again, the heart of good public speaking, good presentation. Aristotle wrote about it 2,000 years ago, talking about making sure that there's a logic to your presentation, that the speaker is credible, the speaker has thought about the audience, that there's a little bit of emotion built in to get the audience excited or at least interested in what it is you're talking about. All of these things that people have been doing for centuries when it comes to speaking to other people, they're as relevant today as they were 2,000 years ago, and they are going to continue to be as relevant going forward. You could have the best technology, and the technology is very, very exciting, but if your presentation style is boring, if you haven't thought about your audience, if you're speaking about something that's not relevant to them, the technology is not going to help. I remember in one of the emails, we were discussing the issue, can it turn mud into gold? The technology turn mud into gold. If it's really muddy, it's just going to be very fancy mud. That's about it. But having said that, I do think that the technology opens up a whole lot of possibilities for people. And I would like to say to anybody who might be thinking, well, I'm not a tech person, I'm not that savvy with it, I don't know if I can handle it. It's getting easier and easier to do things with technology today. I'm not a tech person, and yet I engage on social media. I've done webinars, the blogging, Skype for business, all of these things. If you take just a little bit of time and invest a little bit of time, you'll find that they're actually very easy to do. And when people become comfortable with it, then it puts them more at ease about being willing to try these things. And again, several people have already said it today, but having the technology allows us to do something like we're doing right now. You're in Helsinki, I'm in Geneva, we have listeners who are other places, and that's a really cool thing to be able to do.
Yeah. Wrapping up this conversation, first of all, thanks for the audience for your participation. Thanks to John at Geneva, and thank you Mala and Harri. And in case you want to learn more about these kinds of topics, so good public speaking presentation skills, and the effect of technology and how you can create a roadmap for your digital presentations, then come to Master the Art of Presenting event, which we will have in Helsinki, 20th and 21st of October. And you can learn more about the event at master/presenting.com. And it's going to be a great event. We have a great partner, Microsoft, and some other partners as well. And it'll be event filled with great speakers and also very practical and handy workshops. So with that said, we'll follow up on some of the questions if there are in Twitter later on. But for now, I just want to thank the audience once more and tell you have a great day and goodbye. Thanks, John.